All right, so I'm going to tell you guys why I didn't choose to revoke my GRFD. So essentially, I can compete for active duty, and my whole career is going to be in the National Guard. And I'll kind of give you some insight into why I made that decision at my time at the military junior college, and it maybe prompt some individual thought for you and what your plan may be, whether you want to go reserves or active duty. But before I say anything, just know that in your sophomore year, if you're a scholarship cadet and you want to revoke your GRFD to compete for active duty, that doesn't mean you can't still stay in the National Guard or Reserves. So if you're in your freshman or sophomore year there, or you're going there next year and you're confused, just know that you can revoke that without having to go active duty. So you can like keep your options open for another extra year or so while you still contemplate it. But really quick, I just want to talk to you guys about like how I thought about it, and this is like what my plan was. So I did 2 years at New Mexico Military Institute, and it was basically all military, Corps cadets, Army ROTC. Basically, the military dominated my life for my first 2 years of school. And while what I did at NIMI isn't reflective of the stuff I will be doing on active duty, it still kind of made me think about where I'd be placing my time in my career and really my life, because the Army is a huge vocation if you choose to go do it full time. So the conclusion I came to while I'm a sophomore year and why I was like I'm gonna go National Guard regardless is I just realized that I want to grow in a lot of other areas that I think being active duty in the Army might restrict me from. So like I want to be able to go to get my MBA on my own time, maybe go to law school after that. And those things are like something I think the Army might have gotten in the way of, or I might have been doing on their timeline, or say I did active duty and they paid for me to go to law school or grad school, then I would end up owing them more years, and I can't. And in my civilian life, I want to like push the limits on that and see how far I can go, kind of in the corporate sector in the business world. And I will never know, and I never know the answer about how successful I could be if I chose to go active duty. Whereas I wasn't really interested as much in seeing how far I could go on an active duty Army career. It just wasn't something that really like ignited any passion in me. Um, Also, there's the risk of if you choose to go active duty, you might not get stationed where you want, or you might not get the job you want. Like I was talking to a lieutenant the other day who I went to basic camp with, and he was an end of camp commission, and he ended up getting like his 15th choice of branch for the Army, and getting he's getting stationed in South Korea, which is like completely not what he expected or wanted. So when you go active duty, there is the risk that you can be put somewhere that is just miserable. Like you might want to get stationed in Germany and you end up in Fort Sill or Oklahoma or like Arkansas or somewhere in Texas, Fort Bliss that you may not like. So there is the risk of that. Um, and that's all. And also, I feel like your 20s are just a really key time in your life. And I don't know. I just didn't want my 20s to be dominated by the Army. A great option, a great thing about the National Guard too. I feel like it gives me the perfect balance because I am still extremely passionate about the military and the Army, and I want to do really well in my career, and I want to give my all to it, and I can still do that in the National Guard as a lieutenant right now, and then as I progress to captain, I can still do my 20 years, and get my pension, and still have a really fulfilling military career and possibly deploy at some point with my unit. Also, also the option of active guard, which is you can work full time for your National Guard unit, and that's something I'm also open to, being that it's probably a little more localized. Like if I'm working a business job in New York, or if I stay here in DC and I'm working a job, and then an option pops up for my unit to work full time for them for a year or two, and I really want to like experience the what it's like to be full time Army without like getting stationed somewhere I don't want to be. That's really a good option. So I want to just end this video with saying I'm not saying that I don't recommend active duty. I think active duty is a phenomenal option, and if that's where your heart is, I would say go for it. And some of those benefits are like that's extreme major job stability. you're getting paid really well. You get really good benefits, even starting from the second lieutenant rank. You can really, if you're smart with your money, you can do really well in active duty, and they'll pay for your grad. You'll get your grad school paid for, and yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of benefits to it. Um, I would recommend it too if you like really like the army. If that's like really your passion and that's all you care for. Like an ROTC, like you just want to learn more about the army and you love consuming that type of material, and you really want to see like how well you can do in your army career because that's what kind of lights a fire inside you. Then go for it and do it. Like I said, I don't think while just because of my personality type, I was working active duty, I would work extremely hard and try to be the best in my job. But I just don't think that would have been extremely fulfilling to me as an individual. Like I want to see how far my army career can go in the reserves, and I'd still like to go to a bunch of schools and things of that nature, test myself with what the army offers. But at the same time, I want to test myself in the civilian world. Like I said, with getting an MBA, possibly going to law school, um, seeing how much money I can make in that, and yeah, basically just doing all that. So it's just a lot to think about when you're considering going reserves or active duty. Both are a phenomenal option and have pros and cons to the both of them. Like I said, thing with job stability, like my choice to work in the National Guard is I have to compete for a job in the civilian sector, and while that's not necessarily the hardest thing to find a job if you have your stuff together, it's still something that I'm at risk for upon graduating Catholic University. So, like I said, weigh all your options and really give some forethought to it before you make any decisions.